What's up, everyone? My name is Matthew Dale. I am here to help you play better, sound great, and understand more. And when I say the word triad, what do you guys think of? Do you think of some sort of like exercise, and I've done this one before in the past where I play the diatonic triads in C, and I descend the neck and I ascend the scale. So C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, go up, B diminished, C, and so on and so forth. That's a really good exercise. Do you typically think of triads as just something to exercise your way around the neck, or do you think of them as real material that you can write a part with, or even improvise your own rhythm part with? Well, in this video, we're going to take a look at 5 of my favorite rhythm guitar parts that utilize triads so that you can better understand how the pros are using these in their own guitar parts. And so that you can get out of the rhythm guitar player's trap of either open chords, power chords, or bar chords. Nothing wrong with those chord shapes, but typically we as rhythm guitar players kind of stop with those and we think, well, that must be everything that rhythm guitar has to offer. So first and foremost, if you're unfamiliar with what a triad is, or you just really want to brush up on what your triads are, maybe you want to brush up on all of your diatonic triads in all keys. Well, if so, go ahead and download my Essential Music Theory cheat sheet. You can find it linked in the description box below, or you can go to my website, matthewdale.com/theory. Let's start off with a banger. I really like teaching Crazy Train, especially this rhythm part, because if you're just learning this off of tabs, it's kind of easy to like bypass what's going on with these triad chord shapes, and they kind of sneak up on you here. So we really have all 3. I'm going to clean up here for a second. We have all 3 triad shapes in here. We start off with an A, and then we move to an E. Now, this first inversion triad shape, which is on the D string, 6th fret, G string, 4th fret, and the 5th fret on the B string, this actually comes from the C shape if you're encaged. So here's my C chord. If I just move this out of position, that's where that chord shape comes from. This is probably the weirdest one for people to get used to, but it's a really, really, really good and important chord shape. So we have A, root position, then we have first inversion E major, first inversion D major. This is also the same D major that everyone screws up when they play Stairway to Heaven. This chord, when we go from this C over G, we go to this chord shape. We don't go to a D in root position. It goes to D over F sharp, D in the first inversion. I digress. We're talking about something else. So after that, A root position, E first inversion, D first inversion, and then A second inversion. So we have our root, first, and second inversion major triads. It's one of the reasons why this is a really good one to learn, because we utilize all of our major triad shapes across this string set, D, G, and B. Now, what about the other rhythm stuff that's going on here? There is a pedal tone that's happening underneath these chords. So if I were to write this on a chart, something as simple as even a chord and lyric chart, I would be writing A, E with A in the bass, or E/A, D with A in the bass, and then A again. Now that doesn't give us a whole lot of description on the chord shapes themselves, but a chord and lyric chart isn't really designed to do that. A chord and lyric chart is really meant to serve as a reminder for us and give us sort of a template to interpret the song our own way. So if I wanted to utilize these chords, I'd probably in the margin somewhere write, my chord shapes. But there are only like 3 shapes. It is pretty easy to memorize when you have them under your fingers. In this same vein, on this same string set, D, G, and B, which is probably one of my favorite string sets to play these chord shapes on, and something just feels right about using those 3 strings. Cult of Personality has a really great rhythm part in the chorus. And if you've ever thought that triads can be thin sounding or it's not enough, really this song only has a guitar track, a bass track, drum track, and the singer. So yes, it's still possible to just use these small triad shapes, even ones that are way up high like they are here. And have the bass do its own stuff down in the low register. This really works well in power trio stuff because then everyone kind of has their own job. Something that's really great about this as well is the voice leading. So if I were to, I'm going to clean up again. If I were to play these chords as bar chords, we have B flat to F. And it's kind of doing like a reverse cycle 4, so a cycle of fifths type of thing. B flat, F, C, G, D, A, F, C. Those are the chords, and you can see I'm ascending the neck in that pattern. But what happens with the triad part, we are going up here, and when I say triad part, these are still technically triads. I'm not playing anything musically different than triads, but I'm talking more like triad shapes on the guitar, little 3-note chord shapes that are still musical triads. I don't want to digress too much. So when we are up here playing B flat, we're descending the neck rather than ascending the neck that you would be kind of tempted to do if you're playing bar chords. And we have great voice leading that's happening. So B flat to F, we leave that F note there. C, we keep the C note from the F chord. When we go from C to G, we keep the G note. And then, now we kind of change gears on D, so, well, we actually leave the D on the 12th fret. D, we leave the A. F, leave the A again. And then leave the C when we go down to our C chord. So there's always a common tone that we leave in our chord when we're transitioning from chord to chord. This is a mark of really good voice leading. And I like that part too because we do, again, utilize all of our major chord inversions as we're descending the neck and moving through these different chords. Now, if you want to get familiar with these chord shapes themselves, I put together a triad document, just our general triad chord shapes, all of our major, minor, augmented, and diminished triad chords across the D, G, B, and G, B, and E string sets. I will put that up on my Patreon. You can find that linked in the description box as well. You can go over there and learn these triad shapes. Now here's another one that I think is kind of sneaky, Sweet Home Alabama. This was always my favorite riff to play when I learned this song, rather than the rather than all that intro stuff. My favorite lick to play in this is And I learned it, you know, as we probably all learn most of our guitar songs off of a tab, so I really didn't put the musical connections together with it until much later on when I started learning all of my triad shapes everywhere on the guitar neck. So what I'm playing here are first inversion triads. First inversion triad, again, our chords in this song are D, C, and then G. A first inversion triad on a D chord is going to be spelled F sharp, A, and D. And then when we go down to our C chord, it's going to be C over E, or E, G, and C. And then we go down to our G chord, again, that one's still going to be first inversion as well, B, D, and G. So we're going to play those shapes on our A, D, and G strings. And you'll probably recognize, like, this shape down here looks a lot like a G over B chord. And that's because it is a G over B chord. And of course we have these, like a chromatic walk up, and then a hammer on, and then our little hammer-on type of thing on the G chord as well. Another way to look at these would be pentatonic scales. Like here's D major pentatonic, C major pentatonic, and G major pentatonic, finding this triad shape within the pentatonic scale. Those little first inversion triads for like Southern rock work really well. Haven't really studied much of the Strokes music, but I have taught some of their songs to some students of mine. And every time I learn one to teach to a student, I'm always pretty impressed at how triad heavy the guitar player's parts are, and how connected he is with triads around the neck of the guitar, which I think is really good. So in Someday, we're kind of playing off of these main triads: an A, D, a B minor, and that's kind of what we use for the verse, and then our chorus plays an A, an E, and an F sharp minor, and then we also have a D or a B minor, and then A. But there's a couple of extra little things that happen in this part. So we start with the A, and then I'm going to do something. I'm going to add 9 to this. If I count up from an A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. What I'm playing here is an A add 9. So I've got C sharp the 3rd, E the 5th. I start with the A, and then I go up to B, which is the 9th degree. So then I play a D major triad, root position. And then I play a B minor triad, which is first inversion. And then again, I add 9 here on the B minor. And depending on where the bass is, I don't remember exactly. It could be on D, it could be on a B minor chord. If it's on a D chord, it's the major 7. And we go back to the 6, and then we go the same A add 9, just in reverse. Now, I've seen the chorus charted out where it's just 2-note little voicings. But you can play 3-note voicings of this, and it's still just fine. We're going to start with the second inversion, A major triad, root position, E major triad, and then a second inversion, F sharp minor triad. And what we're adding, we go from the 3rd of our A to the 5th of our A, and then we go from the 5th of our E to the 7, 5, 6, 7, the minor 7, and then we go from the 3rd of the F sharp minor chord up to the 5th, and then back. A little bit of a stretch there, but totally doable. And then we play, I want to say it's the B minor again, and then back down to A. And then it continues on to an E chord. Left this one to last because it's probably how we mostly associate triads being used in songs. These little funk reggae type of chords. Hopefully by now, with the 4 that I've already showed you, hopefully by now you realize that triads are very useful and versatile chord shapes. They can be used in any sort of application, and they should be used in any sort of application. It's rare that a chord or a chord shape would ever just be pigeonholed into one particular genre. That's especially true when people talk about jazz chords. You know, jazz chords. I've seen these used in Zeppelin songs. Technically speaking, if we're splitting hairs, an E7 sharp 9 is technically a quote-unquote jazz chord, but that's like our Hendrix chord. We use it all the time for psychedelic and early rock. So hopefully by now, maybe you've realized that chords and chord shapes aren't so much a stylistic thing. They're just raw materials to be used in any way we as musicians see fit. So with that out of the way, let's take a look at what's going on in Santoria. Again, this like little reggae part. Da 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 da. So here's what we got going on here. We've got a second inversion, E major triad. And this is one, I always teach this, it's the easiest one to teach students that have never really done this before because it's just a D chord moved around. In fact, all of these triad shapes are some kind of open chord just moved around. You just might have to change your focus a little bit. So, E chord, G sharp major in the first inversion, C sharp minor root position, and then up to a B in first inversion. And a secret to finding these chord shapes aren't necessarily looking at it from what the bottom note is. I would say a better way to learn these chord shapes is find where the root is in each chord shape. Yes, I'm stating them as what inversion they are, which is, you know, what is the bottom note, and then working it up from there. I'm still thinking about, here's my E, second inversion. That root note, my E root note, is in the middle of that chord. When I go to the G sharp, even though this is first inversion, the G sharp is on the top of the chord. It's the highest voice in this chord shape. Root position C sharp minor triad, the root, the C sharp, is on the bottom of the chord, the lowest note of the chord. And again, the B chord, first inversion, B is on top of the chord. So it's worth finding where the root note is within the chord shape. That's going to make it easier to find these across the neck. Let's go to the chorus. We go A, B, E, B, and then C sharp minor. Now, I've worked it down this way, so it's still on the same string set, but you could also switch string sets. E, B, C sharp minor in the second inversion that way. And so on and so forth. So triads are the missing link I see with a lot of players. They've learned open chords, barre chords, power chords, and then they know like scales, like anything from 3-note per string scales to all shapes of their pentatonic scales and modal scales. But they never really learned triads. And maybe that is a fault of teachers before, or, not enough conversation around the usefulness of triads, which is why I'm making this video. But think about this for a second, just from a purely mathematical standpoint. If we were to really learn the guitar neck from the bottom up, wouldn't it make sense to find out where just one note occurs on the guitar neck? Like, if we're doing things in C. Here's a C, here's a C, here's a C, there's a C, there's a C, there's a C, right? So that's just finding one note, okay? Then a lot of times we will try to put scales on top of that one note. Maybe it's a 5-note scale, like a pentatonic scale. Maybe it's a full major scale, right? That would be 5 notes and then 7 notes. Well, we kind of skipped an area here. We skipped 3 notes if we're doing like all odd numbers here. 1 note would be the root note. 3 note would be the triad. 5 note is the pentatonic scale. 7 notes is the full major scale or the full minor scale, whichever you're doing. So it might be worth, and I think it would be worth, finding one note, then stepping up, see if you can find triads, root position, triads, and then kind of out. Maybe I have to do second inversion triads now. Second inversion there, second inversion here, there, second inversion here, second inversion here. Finding second inversion triads around, maybe first inversion, which would be there, or you could play it down there. First inversion up here, already played there, and then going all the way up there. So finding your triads around, all these 3-note chord shapes around, then when you go to something like a pentatonic scale, you know where all of your chord tones are. You know where all those chord tones are because you didn't skip that step, which again will make improvising and learning solos and just learning music on the guitar all the much easier. So I hope you found this interesting. Let me know what your favorite rhythm guitar parts using triads are, and maybe we'll also do a lead guitar look at this as well. So famous leads that are played with mostly triads and chord tones. If you know any of those off the top of your head, drop me a comment as well. My name is Matthew Dale. I'm here to help you play better, sound great, and understand more, and I will catch you in the next video.